Okay. Well, we're back with the 2020 podcast, and we're super excited to be joined now by a 3-time NBA world champion, the host of the Give Me the Hot Sauce podcast, and the current color commentator for the Chicago Bulls, Mr. Stacey King. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thanks for having me on. Anything for Kerm.
You know what's so funny? Before we get anything serious, the hot sauce that you sent me for being on your show, T.O. loves it. He comes the engineer. He loves it. He says, "Where's the hot sauce?" He says he comes to get us. Thank you for that.
It's pretty tasty. It's pretty tasty.
It's quality.
Quite well.
I told him, it's like, I'm a connoisseur. So when I got a chance to get it, I was like, oh, because after you came on your show and you guys sent them the samples and everything, and I was eating here and I tried it and I was like, this is for real. It's good stuff.
I think when a lot of people think it's kind of a gimmick until they actually taste it, and then going up against all the name brand hot sauces, Cholula, Red Hot, Frank Red Hot, whatever. Ours is a little bit different because it's organic based, it's thicker, it's more thicker. So it's not water based, and you can actually see the ingredients in the hot sauces, which, most people want to put it on if you're having chips and salsa, you're having barbecue, anything with, chicken or steak. The barbecue sauce is unbelievable. Hamburgers, the red sauce goes with anything. And then we got, for the people who really, really like the hot stuff, like, you've seen that show, The Hot Ones, people who like to sweat. We created the Chicago Fire 1871, which will burn your eyebrows off.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I mean, this is a great commercial for you because he comes every week or every other week we do our podcast, and he always eats here and he says, "Where's Stacey's hot sauce?" And he goes through my cabinet. I said, "It's in there. It's in there." So that's good. So Stacey, thank you for coming on, but we'd like to know a little bit more about where you came from and how'd you get to Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma, first of all?
Well, I was born and raised in Oklahoma. My father was military. He was stationed in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is part of Lawton, Oklahoma. So I was born and raised there. Spent my whole entire life there. I'm the third of 4 boys. My 2 older brothers traveled a lot with my dad and mom when they were being stationed all over the place, Germany, Spain, Italy. They've been all over the place. So then when me and my younger brother came along, my mom said enough traveling. She didn't want to travel with 4 boys. So and I used to get so mad at it because I went to a military school. All the kids were military, and every week somebody would be leaving somewhere. I'm going to Germany. I'm going to Hawaii. I'm going somewhere. And I always ask my mom, why can't we ever go anywhere? Why we always got to stay here? And so as I got older, I appreciated why we stayed there, because, when you have to move around as much as these kids had to do, it's so difficult for children to have to reestablish themselves in another school. You might be the man in one school and then you transfer to go to another school. You might not even get to play.
That's true.
So I was really thankful for my mom as I got older for that.
So tell me, how was high school basketball in Oklahoma?
Basketball in Oklahoma is a lot better than what people think, because it's a football state. I mean, I grew up playing football. I mean, you get a football in your hand as soon as you come out out of the womb. The doctor's not slapping you; he's giving you a football. So, it's king there. Friday Night Lights, that's big. Texas, Oklahoma, some of the southern states, Georgia, Florida, those are football, states. And so basketball is secondary. But there's been a lot of great basketball players come out of Oklahoma. They have some very good. If it wasn't for an AAU program called the Oklahoma City Rams, which was a national champion AAU team when Wayman Tisdale was there, I won one. We had Mark Price, who used to play in the NBA. He's from Oklahoma. I mean, there's a ton of talent. Steve Hale, who played in North Carolina, was a starting point guard, decided not to go pro, but to study to be a doctor. So he gave up the basketball dream. Could have been a first-round pick in the NBA at North Carolina, but decided to go, do something different in medicine. And but yeah, it's a ton of people that come out of Oklahoma. I think we get a bad rep, because it's a football state and they don't believe. I think now coaches are starting to recruit Oklahoma a lot harder than they used to when I was coming up.
When did you know personally that you were bound for the pros? How early did you know that?
Oh man, I listen. I ain't gonna lie because I know some guys get on here and lie. And say, I knew when I was born I was going to the pros, But honestly, I used to tell my mom when I was a little boy because football was my number one sport, and I used to tell her when I make it to the NFL, I was going to build her a house, a big house, the house that she wanted. And I used to say that all the time. Basketball was like probably my third sport. It wasn't my number one sport. And so football was always my number one sport. And I tell my mom every year, I'd say, hey, mom, I'm gonna build your house. She said, okay, baby, you just concentrate on school. And then as I got older, you're gonna probably give your money to a girl and you'll forget all about your mama. And so when I got my scholarship offers, it's really funny because I wasn't heavily recruited as a sophomore and going into my junior year. When I got really started, I think I had maybe 10 letters going into my junior year. I got recruited by North Carolina as a sophomore, but the summer of my junior year, I went from like having, 15, 20 letters to like over 300. So
Mm.
I really had a big AAU season in the summer and exploded on the scene. And then, everything from there, that reality started to kick in a little bit. Like maybe I got a chance, as a 16, 17-year old, if I can continue to grow, continue to get stronger, stay focused on what I need to do, maybe there's a chance.
Well, tell me this before we go farther with your high school career or pro. Do you think the kids in AAU are playing too much basketball now? Do you think they occupy them too much with too many games in a single day and too much traveling? What do you think about that?
Yeah, AAU's totally different now than what it was when I was in school. You can only play so many games in the summer. You can only play like 3 tournaments in the summer. Now it's almost year round. They're playing their high school team. They're out here playing and these showcase games. It's a money grab. It's a money grab. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people benefiting from this. Benefiting from these kids playing these tournaments. I mean, you should see how much it costs. I mean, to take a team to a tournament, unless you got a sponsor, now you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars just to play in a tournament. And if you don't know, if you're not a name brand team, it's very difficult for your team to advance in tournaments because they're gonna give the name brand teams an easier way to get to the finals, and they're gonna put you in a tournament bracket with a bunch of alligators where you're gonna have to fight through. And if you do it, if you're able to fight through, that's great. But a lot of those teams don't have the stars that these teams have. And another thing, when I was coming up, Kermit, when you played AAU ball, you played for your state. I couldn't
Mhm.
go play for Team California. I couldn't go play for Team Texas. I had to play for the state of Oklahoma. These kids nowadays are being sponsored by Nike and Under Armour, and they're putting superstar teams together. You might have 10 kids on a team, and 7 of them, all 10 of them are Division 1, but 4 or 5 of them are McDonald's All American on the same team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you lose that competitive, like, and then, Kerm, you grew up in that era where you see a kid from, New York or California, and you couldn't wait to play him in a game so you could see how good you were, how your skills matched up with that kid.
Yeah.
Now everybody wants to be on the same team. Everybody's buddy buddy. There's no that competitive nature's not
Yeah.
there, and you even see it in the NBA.
Yeah.
Well, when you were, obviously you had a wonderful college career. You end up being a very high pick, and everything fell into place for the Bulls to be able to pick high, even though they were successful at the time. When you look back at that, do you ever feel like as successful as you were, like coming out and uh, 3 out of your first 4 years, you win the championship? Did you feel like individually you might have been better off going to a bad team versus a team that was on the middle, on the verge of really winning a championship?
Yeah, I mean, what's really crazy about that was the Bulls were a 50-win team when they drafted me. They got three
Yeah,
first-round picks that year, and that's unheard of. With our class
yeah,
that year, we're the reason why there's protected picks now. You can't give up protected
yeah,
picks. Then teams are negotiating not to give up their protected picks. I was a first rounder. B.J. Armstrong was a first rounder,
yeah,
and we had another kid named Jeff Sanders who
yeah,
was a first rounder. So we had 3 first-round picks to a 50-win team. That right there, you already
yeah.
got your starters already. Now you got a
Mhm.
bench. You got a,
Right.
a
Mhm.
ready-made bench with young players coming in, the young legs, athletic, and we had to come in And we had to play roles. It wasn't the role
Yeah.
in the beginning that I wanted, because I came in from college averaging 30 points a game. I
Right.
was one of the top scorers in college basketball. And to go to a team where, like, yeah, it's the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan, who I idolized coming up. I had
Yeah.
posters of him in my room. So I thought that was cool. But when I got there, the first thing they said to me was, "We don't need you to score. That's not going to be your role here. Your role is going to be defense, run the floor, use your athleticism, block shots. And if we need you to score, we'll make it happen. But we don't need you to score." And so when you tell a scorer that, and it's like, whoa, like, then why did
Yeah.
you draft me?
Yeah, that had to be deflating.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Your ego takes a hit, but at the end of the day, I'm a winner. I want to win.
Yeah.
If I gotta play a role on a championship team and be the sixth or seventh man on a championship team, and we're gonna win titles, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna be a role player on a bad team.
Right.
I would not have been a sixth or seventh man on the Clippers, who may not have been winning at that time, or the New Jersey Nets, who may not have been winning. If I'd have been on a losing team, honestly, with the wave that I was coming in on from University of Oklahoma, I probably have been a 20+ point a game scorer on a bad team.
Yeah.
But I probably would have never won, T.O. I probably would have got my butt kicked every day. And Kerm can tell you, nobody remembers who finishes second place.
Right.
They only remember winners, champions. And I can be recognized anywhere in the world. I mean, we just came from France this year. The Bulls played early in France this year
Yeah.
against Detroit over in January or February. And I'm walking on the street, and I'm in France. I've been there before, but I'm not thinking anybody's paying attention. I'm just walking around, and Stacey King, Chicago Bulls, give me the hot sauce. Stacey King, Michael
Right.
Jordan. I'm like, oh my God, they know you over here. So that is a pretty cool feeling.
Oh, yeah.
But again, though, I didn't win a championship in college. I lost in the championship to Kansas, and that hurt me to my core. Because we had one of the greatest teams in college basketball history. I think we finished 35-4, and
Who was on
we
your
didn't win
team?
them. We had Harvey Grant, who went to the NBA. We had Mookie Blaylock, who was in the NBA.
Mhm.
We had Ricky Grace, who played in Australia, who's one of the great Australian point guards or players in the history of Australia. Dual citizen. So we had a squad, and we had 5 JUCO All-Americans on the bench. That's how good our team was.
Who was your
So
coach?
Billy Tubbs, the
Oh,
late great Billy Tubbs, and he
yes.
just passed away this past year, and should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame. He's taken three different teams to a Sweet 16, and he's won 80% of his games. I think it's because he's a Maverick, and sometimes people don't. Mavericks rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Well, you know what though? I know exactly what you're talking about, Stacey. I was drafted by the Lakers, and I was the 5th player picked. And just like you, I was first team All-American. And they told me when they drafted me, well, we don't need you right away. And because they had just went through the championship and gotten beat by New York in the
Yeah.
championship. So my question to myself, well, why did they get such a high draft pick? I still don't know that. I probably could find out. But just like you, when I went in, I said, oh, I'm going to play a lot. I can play. They sat me on that bench for 2.5 years, Stacey.
Yeah.
And it hurts you because your ego and you're used to succeeding,
Yeah.
working hard and succeeding. But there were great players on the team. And it took me Pete Newell, as you know.
Yep.
If it wasn't for Pete Newell, I would have never got off that bench, because what happened, I went to Pete Newell, who was the general manager, and then he quit after a while. I said, Pete, you got to help me get off this bench. He says, Kermit, I can't while I'm the general manager because it'll make the coaches look bad. But the 3rd year, he quit. And he said, okay, I'll start working with you, Kermit. And as soon as he started working with me, I'm a starter in the league for the rest of my career, because I needed somebody to show me. I don't know about your coaches, but the coaches that we had were 2-point guards. We only had 2 coaches back then, Bill
Yeah.
Shawman and John Barnhill, but they were point guards. And they didn't know how to help me. And I don't know about you when you came in. I needed somebody that knew how to work with a big man, because I was like you. I was a center in college with my back to the basket. I don't know if you played with your back to the basket, but then when I came into pro, I'm a forward. I'm facing the bucket, and I didn't know
Yep.
how to play that. And so that's what Pete Newell did for me. And he helped so many people. And you came to his camp. Who
Yep.
was at the camp when you came to Pete Newell's camp, Stace?
We had Shaq was there. We had Charles Smith, Danny Manning. Um, we had a ton. We had a ton of guys come there, man. It was. I mean, that was an annual. That was an annual trip. You were there. You were coaching. Kiki Vanderway was there coaching. We had Stu Lance. I just saw Stu Lance last night as we played the Lakers. Told me to tell you hi. I mean, we had a ton of players come to the Pete Newell Big Man Camp. It was an annual trip for me because my coach, the late great Tex Winter, was a good friend of Pete Newell's, and we ran a triangle offense in Chicago, and where it required footwork, where it required really good footwork and timing. And so he thought it would be good for all our young bigs to go out there to Pete Newell's Big Man's Camp. He had it the first year I went, it was out at Loyola. It was in California, Loyola. Then after that was in Hawaii, which that made it even better to go. I didn't mind. At first, I used to brisket going out there, but I said, oh, it's California. Okay, I'm going to go out there and hang out in L.A., And then when he moved it to Hawaii, I was like, oh, baby, I'm coming every year.
Hey, we tell him, were you out there with Shaq acting like a fool? He was just destroying everybody.
I was out there. I was there when Shaq got his first tattoo. His Superman tattoo.
We were talking about that the other day. When Shaq got his tattoo, I said, Shaq, ain't nobody gonna see that tattoo on you. You too dark. And he says, Kermit, you always talking about me. So, but all the guys on the bus, Shaq, that looks good. That looks good.
Yeah, I was with him. I was with him when he got it because I got tattoos. There was like 4 or 5 of us went to go get a tattoo in Waikiki, and I remember Shaq was out there wincing like a little girl when they was doing a tattoo. Is he gonna hurt? Is he gonna hurt? I'm like, this dude like 350 pounds. Yeah, this is gonna hurt. I'm like, man, if you don't sit your big old butt down and get the tattoo and let's go.
People don't know how funny. I'm glad you said that because we were running the camp and Shaq calls me. No, Shaq was on the bus. He says, Kermit, I'm gonna rent me a moped and I'm gonna drive around the island. I said, Shaq, you better not get on no moped. Oh, no. He calls me up at 4:00 in the morning. He says, I fell off the moped and it dragged me up the street. Oh, and he was all scraped up. I know there was a year you were there. Then he didn't play for the last couple of days because he was all scraped up. And then Pete Newell's mad at me. David Stern's mad at me. I said, why are they mad at me? Well, you should have told them get on that thing. But tell them how dominant Shaq was as a center, Stacey.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, I played against Shaq when he was the Superman Shaq in Orlando. In the Pete Newell camps, because it's basically one-on-one. And there's no help defenders. Everything is, every move is there's a counter to every offensive move. It's all about footwork. It's all about spacing, and it's one-on-one. And you're doing drills, and there's nobody that can guard Shaq one-on-one. I don't care who, unless it's the late great Wilt Chamberlain, maybe Kareem, and Wes Unseld, some guys like that in the olden days. But nobody, I remember at the big man camp, I'm like, I ain't even trying to go up against him. I'm a forward. I ain't no center, bro. I'm a forward in Hawaii today. So y'all go out there and bang with that big old moose.
Good luck with that, right?
And we had Chris Dudley out there. Chris Dudley we always want to guard him because Chris Dudley was a tough defensive player. And Shaq just abused him. I mean, and he was a young kid at the time. And when we play him in Orlando, and I would always tease Shaq. I'm like, hey, man, you ain't doing no Pete Newell big man moves out here. Quit cheating. Dude, where you went out to Hawaii and learned these big man moves. You out here doing this, one power dunking on people. I'm like, man, dude, be versatile, man. Stop cheating. And all I was trying to do is get him off the block and make him face up about 15 feet instead of staying inside the paint where you couldn't stop him.
Oh, no, you couldn't. They said there's nobody that could score 100 points a game. I believe that if Shaq could have made free throws, and played him and really call a foul because he was fouled every play, and when they push him in the back or whatever, because he was just so strong, it was a foul every play. He could have scored 100 points, I think, in a game because he was that powerful.
I definitely say in this era now with the way they allow the guys to not touch you. I think there's a few players probably could have. I think Michael Jordan would have an average 100-point game with the way he played. People say, well, he doesn't shoot three. But what you don't know about Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan evolved as a three-point shooter later in his career. He started shooting more threes because he was getting older. Michael would have evolved into the way the game is being played now. He would have made himself a three-point shooter. That's one of the things I tell people all the time about Michael Jordan is that, Michael Jordan is a player that was always trying to get better, always was pushing the envelope. So when they say he wouldn't have done this in this era, I'm like, you out your mind. If Kobe scored 81, what do you think Michael Jordan would have done?
Yeah.
And Kobe wasn't
Right.
a great three-point shooter.
No.
But Kobe was very good at the mid-range game, which Michael dominated.
Right.
Kobe was good in the post. Michael was super in the post, and then his athleticism allowed him to do things other people couldn't do.
Yeah, and people, I mean, even the current set of Bulls, one of my favorite players, DeMar DeRozan.
Yes.
To see what he does in the mid range, and in some games, it's like at the beginning of the fourth quarter, it seems like they just throw him the ball and let him just wear the middle of the floor out, closing the game out. And
well, here's the deal on that one, T.O. is that the analytics has kind of destroyed the game.
Yeah,
let's just be honest. They come up with this money ball, Billy Bean type of theory for baseball. Right. They've done it to basketball. You got guys saying the more threes you shoot, the better chance you got to win. Well, that's good if you Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole. If you got those type of players that shoot over 40%, the numbers will show that. But if you got guys that are shooting under 30%, the league average, I think, is 36 or 37%. If you got a team shooting underneath the league average, analytics goes out the window, because then if I'm taking 33s, let's say I'm getting up 33s and I'm only hitting 6 of those, okay, you lose an argument, because now unless you're getting offensive rebounds and putting them back, getting second chance points, or you're getting to the foul line, or you're getting fast break points, the other team, all they have to do is say, okay, they only got 18 points from the 3-point line. Okay, let's pound them inside. So they went to the free throw line 25 times. They've already neutralized your 3-point shooting just by getting to the foul line. Not to mention second chance points, not to mention fast break points. So, unless you're playing Golden State or Milwaukee, some of these good teams that can really shoot the three, everybody can't shoot the ball. That's why DeMar DeRozan kind of bunks the thought process of, the analytic thought process, because, he's getting 26, 27 points a game off of just mid-range jumpers. And so imagine if he could knock down 3 or 4 threes in a game, where his average would be. He'd be over plus 30.
Well, the thing too is that if I was to replace him with a prime Jordan, and now Jordan has 2 or 3 3-point shooters, so you can't leave them to come double team him, and he's going to go one-on-one from the free throw line down all game. Like, what is he not going to be able to do? So when I see that guys like DeMar, I think it's fully proof that you don't even have to be a high volume 3-point shooter to really put up big numbers. I mean, what was it, a year and a half ago or so, he put up like 35 points in 8 straight games without even hitting a 3 or something like that. And it's just ridiculous. It's like everybody can't shoot threes today, and people act like their argument is like, oh, Shaq couldn't play today, Jordan couldn't play today because they don't shoot threes. And it's like, give me a break. Please, and this isn't the get off of our lawn podcast. Being realistic.
I get tired of hearing that, especially from a player who played in that generation. There's a lot of guys. I mean, Dominique Wilkins, I was talking to him, and he's the color analyst for the Atlanta Hawks, and they were talking about their analytics guy told him that he wouldn't have been the scorer in this league that he was in that league. And Dominique wanted to just slap the guy. Like, are you serious? I'm a Hall of Famer in a league where guys were draped all over you. Like, guys, the physicality of that league.
This guy in particular.
Insane.
Listen, you talk about Dominique. I'm going to tell you a story about Dominique. I got back on a fast break, and he wasn't even my man. I swear they dropped him out the ceiling on me. I know. And all of my teammates got the towels over their face and laughing at me. And I looked at him. I said, listen, I'm not going to get back next time. You better get back. You got to keep getting embarrassed. But Dominique, all of these guys, and I'm glad you said that. The stars back then would be the stars right now. Their mindset.
Prime example. I get in arguments with these people all the time. Larry Bird. Okay.
Oh,
I go, let me tell you something. Larry Bird would kill these dudes in this league right now.
Yeah.
With Larry Bird, prime Larry Bird, if there was a way to transform him into this league, Larry Bird would destroy. You look what Luka's doing.
Yeah.
Bird was bigger. Bird was bigger. Bird could pass. He could shoot. He could
Better
handle the
shooter,
ball.
probably. I don't know.
He's a much better shooter. He's a much better shooter. But Bird is 6'9". I remember playing. There's a funny story about Larry Bird. My rookie year, we're playing Boston. Now Bird and him are at the end of their career. The championship run is over. That's when his back was really bad. When you watch him on the sideline, he was laying on the floor all the time. Right. And so when I come in the league, Dr. J had retired, Kareem had retired. All these guys I grew up watching, I wanted to play against. And so those guys were gone. So Larry Bird and Magic were really the only two left. And Larry was a shell of himself, but he still was deadly. He's still getting 20 points a game. So we're going in the walkthrough, and they ran a play where Larry goes down, or Kevin McHale goes down on a down screen, picks for Larry. Larry pops out, gets the ball. So in the walkthrough, Phil tells me and Horace, okay, when you two are in the game, you guys switch that. You switch into denial. Stacey, you're gonna take Larry Bird, and then G, you're gonna take Kevin McHale on the post. I'm like, all right, cool. So I come in the game. They run this play. I'm like, okay, I'm on it. I know what's gonna happen. I know where the ball is gonna go. I studied it. I'm ready to go. I'm a rookie now. So we're in the old Boston Garden, and they run the play. So I switch out to Larry. Larry's out past the 3-point line to almost the hash mark because I made him catch it super far out. And so my heels were I was standing in front of the 3-point line because he wasn't going to beat me off the dribble. There was no way in the world Larry Bird was going to beat me off dribble. So I was gambling a little bit more. So I pushed up above the 3-point line. And so there's probably about 10 seconds on the shot clock. And so I hear Phil yelling, "Get up on him! Get up on it!" And I'm waving Phil off like, "Shut up! I'm here. I'm above the 3-point line. What are you talking about? He's not gonna beat me off the dribble." And I just kept hearing, "Get up! Get up!" So Larry's talking to me because Larry was a notorious trash talker. So Larry's talking to me. He said, "Hey, rookie," he goes, "You gonna give me this shot? You gonna give me this shot?" And I said, "Yeah, you ain't gonna make this. It's out your range. It's out your range." And he was out past the hash mark. And I said, "I'll give you that shot." He said, if I hit this shot, you coming out the game, right? I'm like, and so this conversation seemed like it took 2 minutes, but it was really like a 10-second conversation. And I'm laughing like, yeah, okay, whatever, shoot it, because I'm gonna block it. So he ends up, he's like 5, 4, and the shot clock's going off. You hear the crowd, and he shoots a 3 in my face, past the hash mark, nothing but net. And you hear a guy, the announcer go, "Larry Bird for 3," and all the Boston Garden crowd was going crazy. So we're running back on the other end to play defense. I hear Phil say, "I told you to get up on him. I told you to get up on him." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm getting ready to get pulled out the game." So all of a sudden the horn comes out. And so as I'm walking off, Larry Bird said, "Hey, I told you he was going to be sitting down after that, didn't I?" And so I of course I had to shut up, F you, and I walk off to the bench. So I walk over to the end of the bench. Phil's yelling at me like how your dad yells at you when you do something wrong. I didn't even get to the scorer's table before he was already on me. "I told you, we ran over this." I'm like, he goes, "Just go sit down." So I'm like, oh man. So I go to the end of the bench. Larry Bird comes back on the offensive end, the very next play. He sits in front of me in the 3-point because they were running a play with Dennis Johnson, ISO on the other side. And so he's in front of me in the corner. And he says, "Hey, Rook." He said, "Hey, Rook, don't feel bad." He says, "Hey, I do your boy Pippen like this all the time." And I was like, and so here's another. So as he's saying that, they're running a counter for him to come up to the top of the floor. So you got the strong side over there doing an ISO. Larry sneaks up from the backside, and Pippen's like trying to guard him, was talking. So all of a sudden he sneaks up backside, hits another 3. And then he comes back later on and said, "I told you I do your boy Pippen like that too." I was like, oh my God. So I didn't feel so bad. But he was a great player. There were some great players back then, boy. Woo.
The thing is, I'm glad you said that because, I tell people the superstars in the past would be superstars in this league. It's their mindset, their toughness, the Magic and Bird and Dominique. I mean, they were so aggressive. See, that's the one thing about it. They came at you. Bernard King came at you. It wasn't as sitting back, and they didn't do all that hugging before games and stuff like that.
No.
I had a question.
We didn't help anybody up when we knocked them on the floor. We weren't trying to be friends with anybody. I mean, I can tell you stories. Our rivals with New York and Detroit are legendary.
Oh, for
I
sure.
mean,
I
I
I
could
had
be
a
on vacation. I was on vacation in the Bahamas, and John Sally was there. John Sally was probably one of the nicest Pistons, but he still
yeah,
was a Piston.
right.
So I was in the hotel lobby getting ready to check in. He was on the other side, at the other side of the lobby to check in, and it was like the battle of the OK Corral. We both met in the middle of the lobby. He's on one side, I'm on the other side, and we're looking at each other like, "Are we gonna do this? Like, we gonna do this
Right.
here?" And then we just kind of looked at each other because that rivalry was so intense. It was
Right.
on site. It was on site with a team. It was on
Yeah.
site. We didn't go out to the clubs with the other team. We didn't go out to dinner with the other team. I mean, I had teammates in Oklahoma I didn't even hang out with because we didn't do that.
Yeah.
These guys now, they're riding banana boats, they're hanging out, they're doing all kind of things, and I I just miss the rivalries because there's no rivalries now in the
Right.
NBA. You used to have, L.A., Boston, Chicago, New York, Chicago, Detroit, Seattle, and the Lakers, Portland, and Lakers. You had all these rivalries, coming up and watching them on CBS and everything, and those rivalries are no more.
I think maybe here's what I was telling it. They always have this debate now against LeBron and Michael Jordan. Now, this is just my take. When Michael played, I taped the game or I watched the game. He was something to watch, something special to watch, because you knew you're looking at excellence. You knew you were going to look at a guy who's going to give you 100%. He was not going to take off. He wanted to rest. No, he was going to play. Just like it was indicative of his last season, he played all 82 games, even though he was older. Now, they say about LeBron. LeBron's a great player, but I don't turn the game on to watch LeBron and the Lakers. That's the difference.
Mm.
To me, I want to see something special. And after watching the Chicago and the Chicago team and Michael Jordan, looking at other teams, except for the very good ones, it looks like junior high school playing after seeing the great teams play how they played together. But you still did have great teams at that time against them. But nowadays, I look at the games and it's not the same. It's not the same. You're talking, I think what you said is perfect. The rivalries are not there anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, back in those days, guys didn't, you didn't see Larry and
Yeah.
Magic meeting up and let's train together. They were trying to train
Right.
against each other to beat each other. You didn't
Mhm.
see Michaels calling Magic, "Hey guys, can I work out with you?" It wasn't like that. Guys stayed within their circle with their teammates, trying to build their teammates. You didn't see guys pairing up and saying, "Hey, let's make a super team in order for us to win."
Oh,
Right.
Michael Jordan got his brains beat out the first 7 years until the Bulls. Jerry Krause was starting to draft the people to put around him. And I was fortunate enough to be one of those pieces that helped us get to a title, So,
Yeah.
it's a different league now. Everybody now is friendly. Everybody hangs out. And there's not that competitive drive. It's almost like if you played your brother in a pickup game, you're
Yeah.
not going to try to kill your brother. You're gonna do enough to win to let him know I'm better than you, but you're not going to go all out on him. But if you were when you're
Right.
going up against a stranger, you going all out on them. You trying to kill them. You trying to send a message,
Okay.
and that's what I liken it to now in this day and age.
Well, one of the things I was gonna bring up, it reminds me when you talked about that, like when the rivalry is so heated. I remember you guys back in '92 in Game 4 against Cleveland with Larry Nance and Brad Daugherty and all those guys. Towards the end of the game, they brought Danny Ferry off the bench, and
Yeah.
he's coming across the pick, and he just starts swinging. And I'm assuming, I mean, I think it's obvious he's trying to get Jordan thrown out of the game,
Yes.
and he doesn't retaliate. You guys end up losing Game 4, go back to Chicago 2-2, and then in the next game, you guys just blow them out. And at the end
Yep.
of the game, they put Danny Ferry in, and here comes Stacey with the street justice.
Yeah. Well, that's how it was back in those days. I mean, you
Yeah,
you
for
hit one
sure.
of ours, we're gonna get two of yours. I mean, like
Yeah,
Sean Connery in The Untouchables.
right.
You hit one of ours, we're gonna send one of yours to the morgue. That kind of mentality, and
Yeah,
that's what happens. So what he did in that Game 4, was cheap shot. Like he
right,
literally came in there for that specific reason, and then once he did it, he got ejected, and everybody cheered him on, and
right.
Michael kept his composure. I mean, Michael really wanted to stow on him and just
Oh, yeah.
unload on
Yeah,
him, and then
he drew back on
he
him, and
drew
he
back,
restrained
yeah,
himself.
and then
Yeah,
he held himself, And then so the next time, next game 5 in Chicago, we'd already decided if he comes in the game, and they purposely kept him out of the game the whole
Yeah.
game. And then once we were blowing him out, they felt like Lenny Wilkins felt, okay, we can put him in. They're not going to do anything. It's over. Yeah, nah, bro. We don't forget, bro. We don't
Right.
forget. That's Chicago. We do not forget.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a bounty on his head, So
Right.
the rule, the thinking was, okay, anytime anybody's got a shot on him, take it. If he's going to the basket, take it, whatever. Let him send him a message like, that don't ever do that again. So,
Right.
so I was away from the ball. The funny thing about it was I was like a free safety away from the ball guarding.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was guarding Hot Rod Williams away from the basket. Will Purdue, our center, was guarding Danny Ferry. And what happened was I was watching the play because I was like, I'm just waiting for him to get loose. But I said, okay, someone's going to get him before I get him. And so when he got past Will didn't do the job. And so I was like, and he was getting ready to score. So I was like, oh, hell to the no. He ain't getting this basket. So I came flying out there like Jack Tatum. I come flying down there. I used to play football. So, I mean, hey, I know how to hit. So I'm from Oklahoma. So I tried to decapitate him. I mean, it was a hard foul. It was a hard foul. And the referee knew already what was going to happen. It's like one of those hockey things when they know the two goons are going to fight. They let them fight, So they knew it was going to happen. So they were already ready to eject me anyway. So they was like, as soon as I did it, they didn't even go, flagrant one. They just like, get out. You're out. You're out. And then from that point on, like I was endeared by the Chicago fans forever, even to this day. So people still talk about that.
Yeah, you could see it looked like it was just business. Like he was in a guts to go situation, and he had to go. That was it.
Yeah,
and
yeah. I mean, it's and then the funny thing about it was I was walking off and I had to be separated. I walked by the Cleveland bench because I was gangster like that. Like I heard some guys chirping over there, so I walked over to the bench like, what's up? Like who wants some of this? Like Debo and Friday. You want some of this, old man? And so nobody said nothing. The only person that stood up to me was Steve Kerr. If you go back and you watch that video, he got in my face and he was cursing at me, whatever. And I got him by the throat and started choking him, because here's this little guard. I'm like, this little guard talking to me like this? Man, I will snap your neck. And so, but I had the utmost respect for Steve Kerr from that point on because all those dudes they had on the team, Larry Nance, Brad Doherty, Hot Rod Williams, Mike Sanders, and they had all these guys, and nobody did anything. No one stood up for Danny Ferry. Maybe they didn't like Danny Ferry. I don't know. Yeah. But I know if someone would have done me like that on my team, my whole team would have had my back.
You know what? It's a different era. The game is faster now. But I told people back in the day, every team had a tough guy. Either there was Lonnie Shelton, Paul Silas, Maurice Lucas, who started every game with an elbow to your face. If you let him. If you let him. And I said, he would just start. Then you had X-Man. You just name them. Truck Robinson.
Everybody had one.
Everybody had a guy that you knew you didn't mess with. And I try to tell people, it's not the biggest guys, the toughest guys. Yeah. It's the guys that, like, in my mind, Joe Dumars. Don't mess with Joe Dumars or Isaac because he's the quiet guy. He's not the big guy. Big guys really usually don't know how to fight. But some
of them don't sleep.
Wait. You know who I was terrified of? Daryl Dawkins. I said he will break my neck in a second.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys that don't know how to fight. There's a lot of wolfing. A lot of guys will, they'll throw a punch and they hope the teammates break it up before you actually get it. I found that out with Ralph Sampson. I used to idolize Ralph Sampson, and when I was growing up, I loved Ralph Sampson. And I remember we played Ralph when he was in Sacramento my first year. And Ralph, I was like, you're out there with your idol. You don't want to hit him. You don't want to hurt him. And he was a shell of himself. He had bad knees at the time. And so I was not really playing him hard like I normally would anybody else because I had the respect for him as somebody I idolize. In the NBA, you can't really do that. You can't show that kind of respect. But I didn't care. This is what I was saying. That's my dude. I mean, I didn't know him personally, but he was my idol. And he hit me with an elbow as he was posted up, and he had like razor sharp elbows, And he hit me, he's 7'4", so he hit me like dead in the throat. And when I used to watch Ralph Sampson when he was in college, he's always curling 100-pound dumbbells. I just remember like it was yesterday. He's curling these 100-pound dumbbells. So I told him, I said, hey man, hey Ralph, don't elbow me like that again. And he basically told me to, shut the F up. I'll do what I want, whatever. So I said, you do that again, man, I'm gonna punch you right in your face. So now this is a rookie talking to a veteran player, So he did it again, and I swung on him, and then we had to be separated. He was trying to get me, boom, boom. They broke it up, boom, boom. So then he gets traded to Washington, to the Bullets. We played him again later in the year. Now I'm thinking he still remembered it, so I'm on go. Like I'm on protective custody. I'm ready to go. I'm not even thinking about the game. I'm thinking about this dude sucker punch me because he's gonna try to get his lick back. So I'm like the whole game I'm watching do. So and then he did it again. He elbowed me again this time in the forehead on purpose. I didn't even wait. I swung at him, and then somebody grabbed me. It was one of their teammates, John, what they called him Hot Plate. John Williams grabbed me, and bear hugged me. And so as he's bear hugging me, Ralph Sampson's coming back towards me like to hit me while I'm being held, which I think that was a punk move. You don't hit somebody when somebody else is holding them. So Scotty and Horace came over and got John Williams off of me. And right when Ralph Sampson's gonna swing it, I ain't gonna lie, I spit on him. I spit in his face. Because I thought what he did, what he was trying to do was like a punk move. And I did that, and he went crazy. And I ain't gonna lie, he went crazy. I was kind of nervous. I was like, I gotta get out of here, baby. I might need a police escort out of here, baby. So, but yeah, there's some good battles, man. I mean, back then, when you fought, like Phil always implored, if we ever got into a fight on the floor, everybody, he said, the bench better clear. Everybody better be out there. There'll be nobody better not be sitting on that bench. I'll find you. I will find you double of what the league's gonna find you. Then it was like a $500 fine. Then it was $1,000. Now it's like I don't know what it's astronomical now because all these guys make all this money. So they figure they got to get that money back somehow. So let's find them $1 million.
Right.
Well, that's a problem. Now if they suspend you for 10, 15 games, some of these guys might be $1 million or whatever.
Yes.
But the thing is like it's a pecking order. What you're trying to say, Stacey, there's a pecking order in the league, and people know the pecking order. Yes. If you want to go to the next level, it's going to be a confrontation. Okay, I don't know if it's going to be a physical one or whatever, but it's going to be a confrontation. And that's the big thing about it, because I had the biggest fine in the history of basketball until Ron Artest took that from me. But back then, and before that, it was only a $50 fine. But then all of a sudden it came to a point we got to be bigger and bigger. But after a while, like you said, people knew who to mess with and who not to mess with, unless you were ready for a confrontation. Because they had a lot of big, strong guys there. And you could get hurt back in those days. Now the guys, they make too much money to want to get in that kind of trouble. They're making so much.
Yeah, most of these guys don't have people in the stands. They got friends in the stands, now. So they don't even got to fight. You got somebody running on the floor that's friends of the guy. You know what I'm saying? They be waiting for you after the game. Like, what, really? Y'all, we going to take this outside of the court? But
hey, I can tell you Adrian Dantley. You know Adrian Dantley, right?
Yep.
Adrian Dantley got in a fight with Myers that used to be played for UCLA, played for Milwaukee Bucks. Adrian said, I'm not going to get a fine. He went into the locker room and pulled him out and beat him up. When
my first year in the league, Armin Gilliam, the late great Armin Gilliam, went into the locker room. Pearl Washington, who was playing for the Miami Heat at the time, did something to him, hit him, sucker punched him or something. They both are gone now, but that sucker punched him, and so they ejected him. And so this is when they didn't put security. They didn't have security by the lockers like they do now. Okay, so Pearl's in the shower and lathering up with soap, and Armin Gilliam came into the locker room and beat him down in the shower with soap in his eyes. He couldn't see. Beat him up bad. That's why you got security. Then we call it the Armin Gilliam rule, because that's why now you have police that sit outside the locker rooms now, especially when guys get ejected. So they don't allow you to go after guys. You know, they remember when Doug Christie went after Rick Fox in
Yes.
Yeah.
at
The tunnel. Yeah.
at the tunnel. I mean, they don't allow you to do that anymore. So and it's good too because I mean, first of all, you don't want that stuff to spill in and someone gets hurt, bad or something, crack their head or something. It's most of these guys don't know how to fight anyway, but you don't want anybody to get hurt.
You know what's the funny thing is Stacey and T.O. in hockey, they want fights. The
Yeah.
fans
Yeah.
love it, and it's a big thing, and it just adds to the game. Unfortunately, they say, but in basketball, oh, those are it's awful. Those guys are
Yeah.
fighting and whatever. And in baseball, they get in a big brawl. Oh, that boys will be boys.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
comes down to with basketball, and you know the reason why, but we don't need to be mentioning all that. But you don't get in a fight in the NBA.
No, that's why when the incident where Alex Caruso got hurt by the I thought was a way over the top foul, me personally, with
Dirty
Grace
play.
Allen, it makes the aggressor more of the aggressor. It gives them more power
Yes.
because
Yes.
the chance of you getting retaliation is so small. And honestly, I was bummed. I didn't voice it, to anybody, but I was bummed when there was no Stacey King, Danny Ferry moment
Yeah.
down the
I'm
road.
gonna tell you too. Yeah, he would have been dealt with. He'd have been dealt
Oh,
with.
for sure, for
He'd
sure.
have been
Back
dealt with
then,
in
no
the
question.
90s. He would have been dealt with. I was really
Yeah.
surprised they let that happen because that really derailed our whole season after that. I mean, we lose
Yeah,
Caruso for like 30 games, and he had been playing really well at the time, and that really, really hurt us going into
yeah,
the second half of the season. And then this kid's over there smirking and laughing, and I
right,
mean, I really wanted to come out of the broadcaster's booth and get him. That's how bad it was.
right.
And it's one thing when you're making a hard play on a ball. I've seen guys fall out of the air, guy trying to block a shot that's a
Right,
clean, hard foul, But this kid has a track record, number one. He
for
has a
sure.
track
Yeah,
record that goes all the way back to high school. I've seen videos of him in high school doing things. At Duke, he did it. And they've allowed him to get away with it. So now it's
the G
part of who
League,
he is. Yeah,
everything.
he did in the G League. His summer league, he fouled the kid from Boston, Grant Williams.
Right, right.
Two
Summer league.
hard fouls, slapped him in the face, choked him. I mean, Trey Young tripped him. I mean, so this has been going on for a
Yeah,
long, long time with this kid. It's not something that just happened once or twice. This is part of who he is. And until someone stands up and gives him a two-piece with a fan of orange and a biscuit, he's gonna continue
yeah,
to do this because there's no repercussions. No teams are doing anything to him, no players doing anything to him. And he's one of those guys that when he's on your team, you know it's wrong and you don't really want
right. Oh, we lost him.
Why
Shoot,
did we lose him?
I don't know. I think it happened on his end.
Can
Oh,
you
there
see
you
me?
go.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
we're
getting.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, I got. So yeah, I was getting a call. So
Awesome.
but when you're playing against him, you see how dirty he is. You don't want a guy
Yeah,
like that on your team. So and he's not a bad player. That's the crazy thing about this kid. He's not a
yeah. It's not
bad
even
player.
necessary.
He's not even necessary to be that way. You don't have to play that way win approval. You can do things on the court like make threes. He's a great 3-point shooter. He plays hard. He can play defense. He's a good basketball player. There's no need to do those kind of things.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Well, Stacey, for me, it comes to a point. I want to ask you of all the people you've seen, and you played with the great Michael Jordan. I just thought, in my opinion, I still think he's the greatest player, pound for pound, that the NBA has ever had. And they make all these different comparisons. And I was talking to T.O. Yes, Kareem. I played with Kareem for 3 years, but Kareem is 7'2". I knew Wilt personally, and Wilt did tell some big lies a lot of times. I loved Wilt, but he was still 7 foot bigger than everybody. And Bill Russell was just on a great team. He was bigger, but Michael was everybody's size. He was 6'6". That's the average size, or maybe he's short for an NBA player, and he dominated. And so
Yeah.
that's why I tell people I think he's the best leader. He played all the different roles. I mean, he was like a coach on the field. Coach in the court. Is that correct, Stacey?
Yeah, the one thing that I always say about MJ that separates him from, LeBron's and all these other guys, first of all, he understood what it meant to come see him play. Number one. Okay. He didn't take games off. There was no load management. If Michael could have played 82 plus games a year, he would have played 82 plus games a year. The guy broke his foot and he was out there trying to get back. He came back at the end of the year from a broken foot because he wanted to be out there on the floor and he wanted to compete. The guy didn't miss practices. The guy was number one in every drill that we ever did. Okay. And I've always said this, when your leaders and your best players are your hardest worker, everyone else will follow in, because you have no excuse. As a young player, I have no excuse not to come in and work hard. When I see our number one guy running suicides and running 17 sprints, and he played 48 minutes the night before. I've seen this guy have a second-degree sprained ankle in the first quarter. Go out. We don't think he's going to come back. We had to carry him out on the floor. Ankle swole all up. Went into the locker room. We think he's done. We're in Atlanta. The Atlanta crowd is cheering because he's out. And so he comes back at halftime, and right before halftime, they're playing the Harry the Hawk. They're playing this Superman theme, the Superman theme music. So Harry the Hawk was supposed to be coming out this dry ice to smoke. So they're playing this Superman theme, the Return of Superman, and then all of a sudden, here comes MJ out to smoke. And it wasn't. I swear to God, and it was something that was been a Hollywood movie. It was amazing. We're all looking. I mean, I didn't even know Harry the Hawk was supposed to come out, but they're playing this. Harry the Hawk's going to come out, and he's got his Superman outfit on. Blah, blah, blah. They're playing the Superman music. All of a sudden, MJ came out limping, came out that locker room and gave Atlanta like 50 on the ankle. And wait a minute. Here's the kicker. We had practice the next day, and he did not miss practice.
Wow.
And I'm talking practice.
Yes.
Practice.
Practice. Oh my goodness.
Before we get you out of here, I did want to ask you one thing, and it's very obscure, but the first time that the NBA players, the real guys, were on video games was back in '90 with the Lakers versus Celtics.
Yep.
And of course, you were on there. Were you a gamer and noticed that, like, oh my
I'm
God,
still a gamer. I'm still a gamer.
Oh, okay. But how thrilling was that? Because that had never been done before, at least with the NBA. And then here you're a new guy in the league, and here you are. They got you on your rookie year on there.
I'll tell you what. I mean, growing up playing, Atari and in television,
double dribble.
Double dribble. See yourself, your likeness on a game, was like just surreal. Like I never in a million years growing up in Oklahoma thought I'd ever be on a video game, ever.
Right.
That never even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
I probably thought I was going to be working a 9 to 5 before I've been on a video game. So to see myself on a video game, to see my kids be able to, as they grow up and play video games, to see myself on, NBA 2K and, and for them to see me and see my card, I think I'm like an 80 on there, which is really good. Like they gave me good ratings, baby. They know. So I'm really happy about that. I hope one day they allow me to be a broadcaster on there, because I think it'll take that game to another level if I'm on.
Oh, there. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do too, is tell you, as a lifelong Chicago Bulls fan, thanks so much, because you to me are the number one guy. People can say that I'm biased or whatever, but just go ahead and go down the list. I don't got anything against the other guys, but we got the best color commentator in the NBA.
Yeah, look what he has on, Stacey. Look what he has on.
It's not because you're coming on. It's because it's the ends and why.
T.O., you know what, T.O., I'm one of these guys, like, look, I don't ever say I'm the best. I don't ever say I'm the best. I let the fans speak about that. That's like the debate of who's better, LeBron or Michael. You don't hear Michael, trumping that he's the best.
Right.
What his body of work shows that he's the best. Okay, and I'm the same way. I'm not gonna, say I'm the best. I'm the top 3 and top 5. I don't get into that. All I do is I do my job to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
I rep Chicago to the fullest, and I bring an energy that I believe is unmatched. And and I've done it now for 17 years. So, and I'm going to continue to bring it every night. And so when you do that, I think that's where that's where that debate, people like to say, who's this guy, that way. And I mean, I'm all over the internet. My calls are all over the internet. So that's kind of flattering right there, that people even listen to it, it's
D-Rose
cool.
going up over
Dragic. And it's funny because Drago was on our team early this year.
Right.
And so we were in France and he was walking around. I said, "What are you doing, Dragic?" And he's like, turned around and he's like, man, that's been following me my whole career. I'm like, "I'm sorry, man." He said, "But you made me famous." I'm like, "Hey."
Yeah. That's funny.
Well, first of all, you do a tremendous job. Thank you for coming on and taking the time. And good luck with Chicago. And can't thank you enough for coming on. I appreciate it. Take care.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on. T.O., way to rep, baby. Way to rep,
Yeah,
T.O.
thank you. Thank you. So everybody drive home safely.
Beat me.
All right, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
How to put it all in perspective, baby. How you draw me